Welcome back to Askewed Reviews, and this week we've been doing the Phantasm series, and finally we are on the 2016 film Phantasm Ravager. Here is your trivia question for today. In the post-apocalyptic future, what does the alien disease do that was unleashed on the world's population? The answer will be at the end of this video. So continuing the trend of the last few Phantasm movies, we start off right where we left off from the last one, and Reggie is walking by his lonesome through the desert. In this film, we are specifically following Reggie, and he's going through three different sequences. One of which is, of course, walking through the desert in what is either the past or present time. Another one is him in the future being stuck at some sort of assisted living. And the last one is in some sort of post apocalyptic world. In the parts that seem to take place in the past or what is possibly the present, Reggie ends up running into a woman named Dawn, who he has some feelings toward. And like most women that Reggie runs into, she doesn't last long. Now, in the parts where Reggie is in some sort of assisted living community, he does end up running into Mike, who explains to him that he is dealing with dementia and all of the stuff that happened in the previous movies never actually happened. And in the last part, which is apparently post apocalyptic, the tall man has essentially won and pretty much has turned everything into a wasteland. In this world, Reggie wakes up to being strapped down onto a table and hooked up to some sort of machine. Also in this world, Mike has become the leader of a bunch of resistance fighters. Now, will Reggie or us as the audience ever really figure out which of these is the actual reality? Or will the tall man finally succeed? So far, this is the first and only Phantasm movie where Don Coscarelli is not the director. He was still the writer, but the director this time around was David Hartman. The original concept for this film was not actually to make a movie. They were originally going to make a web series that was starring Reggie, and it was going to be called Reggie's Tales. They started working on it in 2008, but eventually they just turned it into a feature length film. There was a scene in the web series that didn't make it into the movie where there was a giant lurker that was fighting Reggie, and that lurker was going to be played by Derek Mears. The hospital scene where Reggie is talking to Jebediah was actually the last scene that Angus Scrimm filmed. Also, Scrimm unfortunately passed away soon after the movie was made. It was dedicated to him, but luckily he did get an opportunity to see the full feature film before he passed. The music that Reggie uses to write a song for Dawn is actually the same tune that Reggie and Jody are playing together in their jam session from the first film. Randomly, the same prop blanket that Dawn pulls over Reggie is the same prop blanket from Mike's bedroom in the first Phantasm film. There were also some great cameos in this film. For instance, Bill Thornbury, who appeared in all of the films except for the second one, does reappear as Jody in this one. Gloria Lynn Henry reprises her role of Rocky from the third Phantasm film in the mid-credits sequence. And Kathy Lester, who played the Lady in Lavender in the first Phantasm film, reprises her role and even gets to be a bit more monstrous with it this time around. She did actually appear in the third film as the nurse that is taking care of Mike. So when it comes to the film Phantasm Ravager, I thought it was okay. It didn't feel as good as some of the previous movies, and part of that I think is just the disjointedness of jumping between the different story points and the different realities, but it wasn't a terrible movie. So I'm going to give this one a 2 out of 5. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, in the post apocalyptic future, what does the alien disease do that was unleashed on the world's population? The disease apparently causes your head to swell up and expand till it eventually explodes, and I can't help but wonder, why didn't the tall man just start doing this in the first film? I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments.